For today's meal prep, I wanted to try a few new things as well as make some staples I pretty much prep every week now. Today I'm prepping a couple of loaves of sourdough, a rich and versatile tomato sauce, plain bagels, marry me butter beans, which were delicious, black bean meatballs, preserved Meyer lemons, Tiramisu inspired baked oatmeal, and a whipped tofu ricotta. All recipes will be on screen, or I'll leave them in the description below, or if they're from a cookbook then I'll find the nearest recipe on that creator's website. Don't forget to give the video a like, only if you liked it, as it really supports my channel, and subscribe if you want to see more. Oh, and a quick thank you to Thrive Market for sponsoring a portion of today's video. Okay, grab a cup of tea or coffee, whatever you like, and let's get into it. So for me, meal prep starts the day before, where I go through a bunch of different cookbooks, my favorite websites, YouTube channels, and I'll note down the things that seem the most appealing to me and kind of cross-reference them with some of the pantry staples that I already have. For the sourdough, I always start the day before I start meal prepping so that I can bake it on the same day. Sourdough can definitely be intimidating when you're first trying out, but you'll realize once you understand exactly how it works that you can be a little bit more flexible. I will often stretch and fold on the hour every hour for the first 3 hours, and then I might go out to the gym or something and leave it to just rise on its own for 3 hours without stretching or folding it at all. There are just certain things that I look for. I just make sure that the dough is definitely getting stretchy, there are definitely bubbles and it's clearly doubling in size, and when I turn it out onto a floured surface before I shape it, it kind of comes away easily. These two I definitely overproofed a little bit or over let them rise, but that didn't really seem to matter too much. I do have a whole video dedicated to how to make sourdough, so if you're interested in that, I will leave it in the description below. I'm just about to get started with the marry me butter beans and an outrageously good tomato sauce. I'm currently baking one of the sourdough loaves that I started yesterday. Sourdough is always a 2-day process, but I managed to get it down so that it doesn't interrupt my day too much. And I also always make 2 loaves now so that I can keep one in the fridge in its sort of raw dough form for a couple of days. 2 days in the fridge is absolutely fine. I'm gonna push it to 3 days this time just to see if the flavor is really good, if it holds up nicely and it doesn't dry out. I was able to get a lot of what I needed from Thrive Market for this week's meal prep and food prep. So let me show you what I got while we get started on this outrageously good and very versatile red sauce. Oh, and if you haven't heard of Thrive Market before, they're a membership-based online grocery store where you can find healthy, organic, and sustainable products. You can also find my favorite chocolate bars by Who, which is one of the only places that I can find it. I'm always trying to up my protein and diversify what I'm eating, so I added some red lentils and quinoa to this week's order. Generally, I like to have a bunch of cooked legumes in the fridge so I can add them to any meal, salad, etc. And Thrive Market is great because they have so many high protein options, and you can also shop by your values or your diet. So I can just put vegan in there, plant-based in there, and it will give me all the good vegan and plant-based options for protein. I was also able to get my favorite flours and flaky salt to make sourdough and bagels this week, as well as some plant-based pestos to have in the cupboard for those days when I just want something quick and easy. Shipping for orders over $49 is free, and there are no hidden costs or additional fees. Plus, if you find a lower price somewhere else, they'll match it, which is pretty cool. I'm actually almost out of vanilla paste by Hey Lala, which is one of the only ethical and sustainable vanilla products that I'm able to find. So I will definitely be replacing that with the next order. So if you're interested, you can join Thrive Market today using my link, thrivemarket.com/sustainablyvegan, to get 30% off your first order and a free gift worth up to $60. While the red sauce is cooking away, let's get started with some bagels for this week. This recipe is so easy and straightforward, and anybody can do it. This tomato sauce came together really quickly, and what makes it so special is the amount of fresh herbs that are actually in it. There's fresh rosemary, parsley, and basil, as well as a little dried oregano as well. I just stored these in 2 airtight containers in the fridge so that they are ready for anything I want to use them for. I then moved on to making homemade bagels. So you'll bloom your warm water, active yeast and sugar for about 10 minutes. Separately, you'll mix your flour and your salt. Then you'll add in your liquid to your dry ingredients and give that a good mix. Once it comes together, then you're going to knead it for about 10 minutes. You can do this by hand or you can do this in a stand mixer. I actually find that it's so much easier to tell when the dough is ready if I do it by hand. The dough will become nice and soft and silky, and then I'll put it in a bowl that I've oiled slightly, cover it, and let it rise for about 30 minutes, or when I can remember to check on it. I'll take that out and split it into about 6 balls, folding the sides into the middle and then using the tension of the surface of my counter to really create that round shape. I'll put them back on a tray, cover them and let them rise for about 10 to 15 minutes. When the water comes to a rolling boil, I just put my thumb and forefinger through the bagels to create that hole. I will then boil them for about 1 minute on either side and put them back onto the baking tray to go inside the oven. I didn't have anything else really to glaze them with except some soy milk, so I used that, but you can glaze them with whatever you like. Since the oven was already on, I used this as an opportunity to bake the second loaf of sourdough that I had prepared. Next, I moved on to making Marry Me butter beans. I've seen the Marry Me chicken and the Marry Me tofu recipes absolutely everywhere, but in one of my favorite creators' recent videos, she mentioned making it with butter beans instead. So I followed her recipe, which will be in the description, and honestly, this came together so quickly. It was great because it has a mixture of beans, some delicious aromatics that I hadn't used before, like Calabrian chili paste. I also made some cashew cream to go with it, and for my kale, I used Cavolo Nero. The only thing that I would do differently with this recipe is make quadruple the amount. This will go perfectly with my sourdough, and it'll be really good for a lunch or a lighter dinner. I'm really glad that I tried something new because I've now found a recipe that's going to be on rotation that I wasn't using before, and I especially love it when a recipe is really easy and comes together so quickly. If I wasn't filming, this whole recipe probably would have taken me about 25 minutes. I had a little cashew cream left over, so I popped it in a jar so I could make this recipe again. Next up, we have some black bean meatballs. For me, these are just a really nice alternative to plant-based meatballs, and another way to get in some more beans into my diet. These meatballs come together so easily. You basically just saute the onions and the garlic in a pan for about 5 to 6 minutes until they become translucent, and then you add all of the ingredients to a processor. I probably processed them about 20 to 25 times because you want everything to come together, but you don't want to create a paste. I just lightly wet my hands and then formed these into a ball. These would be perfect to go in the freezer. I just shoved them in the fridge because I knew that we were going to eat them in the next couple of days. And these were going to be the perfect addition to go with that red sauce that I had actually prepped earlier. It's that time of year where I've run out of preserved lemons and it's time to make some more. This time I decided to use Meyer lemons because I just think that they're absolutely delicious and they would definitely give a different flavor and different taste. After scoring them, salting them and leaving them in the fridge for 24 hours. And then the next day, I really shoved them down into a jar. I poured over any of the liquid that had come out over the 24-hour process. And then I used some additional Meyer lemons to squeeze that lemon juice on top to help preserve them and keep them below the liquid. And then sealed them with a lid. These will go in the fridge for about 3 weeks before I'm ready to use them. Now, these tiramisu baked oats are one of the things that I was most excited to try, and honestly they are very simple. You basically mash up a bunch of bananas and then throw all of the other ingredients into the oven-proof dish that you put the bananas into. Give everything a really good mix while you are preheating your oven at about 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and then once everything is really well mixed, put it in the oven for about 40 minutes. Once it's ready, bring it out of the oven and allow it to cool completely. Once it is cool, then you'll put on your yogurt. I put on some almond yogurt, but of course you can use whatever you like. And then I just used a flour sieve essentially to dust over some cocoa powder. I pre-chopped this into 9 different pieces just to make it a little easier in the mornings when I wanted to grab a slice for breakfast. And I also used a container that had a lid so I could put the lid straight on and put it in the fridge. Okay, so the last thing that I prepared was a tofu whipped ricotta. I essentially wanted something that was a different hummus or something that was a good alternative to that and something that was a little bit higher protein, and this was honestly perfect. You throw all of your ingredients into a blender. It's pretty straightforward. You have garlic and lemon, tofu, olive oil, salt, miso, nutritional yeast and some black pepper, and give everything a really good blend. Once it's done, I put it into an airtight container and put it straight into the fridge. My favorite way to eat this is with a bagel that I just made, some flaky salt, a little bit of olive oil, and some fresh basil. This would be perfect in a lasagna, in rolls, in sandwiches. Honestly, it is a great high protein snack. I finished the day by making a dinner that was a kind of catch-all just to get everything out of the fridge and prepare it for all the food that I had just prepped. So this was a stir fry with some veggies, some leftover rice, and some tofu. Okay, so it's a few days later and I have just made myself a bagel with some of that ricotta and then just some fresh basil that I had left over from the Marry Me butter beans. A little bit of oil, a little bit of flaky salt. I thought I would give you an update on what got eaten first and how I would change that next time. So we definitely did not make enough of the Marry Me butter beans. So I would probably actually triple the recipe of what I made. I would definitely double the recipe for the black bean meatballs as well, because I think that made 2 meals that we shared. So I think I would probably double that recipe and then I might even freeze half. So tripling that recipe could also be a good idea too. I think I got it perfect with the baked oats. We still have quite a few of those left, portions left, and that was really delicious. I'd say it's quite decadent. I think the smaller square is definitely probably enough. I had 2 squares this morning before I went climbing because I thought I would need that extra energy, but definitely 1 square would have been absolutely fine. This I'm finding to be a really good snack alternative. The ricotta kind of acts like a hummus, but I just got sick of hummus because I made it so many times. So this is just a nice alternative, especially because it's tofu, so it's a little bit higher in protein as well. I think that's probably it. I really hope that you enjoyed this meal prep video, and if you did and there are particular things you did like about it, let me know in the comments. And if there's anything you'd like me to add to these videos to make them more helpful, then please let me know as well. Okay. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Please give the video a like if you did like it, as it really helps to support my channel, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more. Okay, thank you. Bye.